So I guess we're going to make an editorial decision on what we do with these takes because I've got two teams that really fall under the same banner here. One is the Jazz and the other is the Raptors. Both of these teams probably had different engagements in the trade deadline, but ultimately I would like to sum up their trade season as bad because they just didn't sell enough. We'll start with the Raptors. It's not that they didn't sell enough; they just didn't really sell. They had some strong advertisements for Van Fleet and OG Anunoby, and they've even got some other pieces that are interesting. And their season's kind of toileting out at this point, and all they did was get Podol, which was more of an asset move, which was curious. And yes, their record says they're 26 and 31 and they're a couple of wins out of the playoffs, but we both know that's not what they're trying to do. The supposed price for OG was two or three first round picks. Um, so yeah, I'm disappointed in the Raptors because I just feel like we kind of know, and I think the rest of the league knew they're not going anywhere. And they got some contract extensions coming up. And, Masai is a genius. So maybe he's going to figure something out in the offseason. I don't know. Maybe I have to hold this take. But in the immediate future right now, the Raptors curiously did very little this trade
I think
deadline.
I think you hit it there. Let's give Messiah a shout out. Yeah, he did build an NBA championship team. Yeah, and he knows when to swing and he knows when perhaps to hold. And I think that's again the similar case with the Raptors. I think if I was the GM right now, then what move would rocket my team into contention for the Raptors this year? The answer is probably none. That's the reality. There was playing no moves that rocket the Raptors into contention this year. They have had a disappointing year. They're not even in the play in spot right now. They still have a chance to make the play in spot. Top six is probably now feeling a little bit out of reach, but the play in is still a possibility. And then they have decisions to make in the off season. That's it. I think there's a couple of core key times in the calendar where you make these decisions, obviously by the trade deadline and obviously in the off season. And they've got players that are on expiring contracts, I think, like Van Fleet and Gary Trent Jr., I think are both on expiring contracts. And, they're going to have to make some moves. I think it's play a safe bet that the Raptors will make some significant roster moves in the off season. But this season ultimately is probably a bit of a write-off, and there was probably no need to make any greater moves than to add Pirtle, is it? That obviously is still a young piece and is coming back to the program here, and it could be something that obviously they build on for the next few years. So again, look, I don't know. You seem to feel like I feel like you're playing 2K here or something. Like every team needs to make a move because that would make them better, and that's it. But I don't think that's real life.
I'm not going to steer into the Raptors needed to be better. I just think they're sitting on a lot of really good assets, right? Assets that can transform into younger players or draft picks, right? So the OG hype, like let's not forget that OG actually never suited up for the championship team. So all of this potential that we scout on him, as in a wing that can defend really well and score, has never actually been proven in serious games, right? He is just a really intriguing young piece that other GMs love. Someone could have paid three draft picks to get him and then find out, oh, like, yeah, he's fine, but maybe not three draft picks. And obviously, as we talk about the draft coming up, which is the Wembanyama sweepstakes, surely that's the direction you go then. If you know that this season's a bit of a write-off, you've got some interesting pieces. Surely you try to steer a little bit more into a youth movement because Van Fleet is not only somewhat old, but probably is a beneficiary of a contract that is related to a championship. I think there's a bit of like franchise loyalty there, right? Kyle Lowry got a really decent trade when he's probably a bit washed from Toronto, right? That championships
Whoa,
really
whoa,
elevate people.
yo, Van Fleet is somewhat old. He's 28. I just had to pull this
Yeah,
stat up
it's
because
over.
he's somewhat
It's over.
old. He's not even
It's over.
30 yet. All right. I think, he just turned 28. Actually, so he's turning 20. He'll turn 29 at the end of this month. Okay. And I don't know. I feel you're trying to clutch at some sort of topic here to bag the Raptors here. I don't know.
No,
Like
no, 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 no.
OG's 25. Okay, so here's the thought process of a GM. Okay, that if your player is 25, this team is not a contender right now. You're going to tear down some of these, make some of these roster overhauls, tear down this sort of this sort of team. Okay, sure. I think Van Vliet is probably out the door. Okay, Siakam might also be out the door. Okay, but OG could be the piece that remains with this franchise, with this next version of a contending Raptors core, which who knows who it could be. It could be Wembanyama. Who knows?
I think it's more, even if those players are out the door, so to speak, you could have gotten a return for them. Someone would have had interest in Van Fleet, right? You know, you constantly hear the Lakers linked to every trade because LeBron put pressure on to get people out. They could have picked up something, even if it's insignificant. It's still just collecting assets for things that have run out, right? And because this is potentially a two-part clip, so this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like my signal that you can edit it.
Good. Let's see how we can go with the Jazz here. Well, I already got the gist. Let me just roll with your gist here, okay? So the Jazz should have made more trades. Yeah, is that sort of
Yeah,
what you're gonna tell me? Yeah,
yeah,
they should have traded
yeah,
Clarkson. Probably should have traded Sexton. Who else? Who else did you want in the fire sale here? Just help me
yeah.
out.
Olenek,
Olenek. Okay,
Olenek.
Olenek. Okay. And if they didn't get the asking price, because I'm going to take a stab here that Danny Ainge was on the phone, because again, trader Danny, just like Usai in the Toronto, we give them credit that these guys know what they're doing. Yeah, they've been part of championship winning front offices. Okay, and I'm going to take a stab here that Danny Ainge was on the phones trying to look at options here. But if you don't get the asking price for what you want, do you simply make a trade to make a trade?
Well, a report would need to come out to see what they were offered for these players, right? So you look
We'll
at
never
players
know,
like Jordan
which we'll never
Clarkson.
know, correct?
Oh, well, I mean, supposedly, Chris Paul was on the trade block for Kyrie. So, it does get leaked from time to time. Look, I think you look at the Utah roster, we acknowledge that there's a lot of interesting pieces there that aren't for the long haul. And there's a couple of buyout situations, perhaps Westbrook's one of them, but, you know, there is interest in Olynyk, there is interest in Clarkson, and there is interest in who's the other one that you mentioned? I've already forgotten.
Sexton.
Sexton as well, right? Which I don't think fit their long-term plan. So, perhaps it is again another case of in 6 months' time, those assets are then moved on and it's a better deal then. And, maybe I'm being too harsh on it. I just am surprised that Utah roster doesn't look like another bomb hit it from where it started the season, so to speak.
I I don't. Again, I'm going to reference an Orlando Magic scenario, being a Magic fan here. I don't know if you think back a few years ago when we tore down our roster because we were simply just a first round fodder for like 3 years in a row, and there was the decision made this is can't go anywhere, and we obviously traded Fournier, we traded Aaron Gordon, we traded Vucevic, all in that just before the trade deadline. Okay, and we got quite an underwhelming haul back. Okay, and I guess we got him off the books. All right, we got to give minutes now to younger players. We brought in a lot of other younger players now to have a look at them. Most of them haven't really panned out that well. I don't know. You could have an argument there on Fultz, right? Maybe he will have a career with us or not. I don't know. We talked about him earlier. Okay, but what I'm trying to say here is that sometimes there's just not those deals that you really want. And I don't think years ago we necessarily could have or should have made all those deals as a Magic fan. Look, you never know. Okay. And I guess some of these other teams that you're talking about have good pieces. Yeah, have good pieces that other teams could do with. But if the price is not right, then I don't think you need to sell. That's it.
Look, you are right in the sense of timing is everything. So Jordan Clarkson might be worth his value in terms of what you can get back for him at different points at different parts of the season. You might get back something better. So maybe in the off season, the return's better than it was at the mid-season point. It's perhaps a time will tell situation. I'm just sitting here looking at that Utah roster, surprised that certain pieces stayed put and certain ones moved. Vanderbilt one, it comes to mind. He's a young wing. To me, seems more likely to have stayed on a team like that has a pretty young average age than someone like Kelly Olynyk, who's a stretch center with some playoff experience with a pretty reasonable contract. That's maybe that's the way you should frame it. Is that I'm surprised the players that did move moved when other players are still on that team.
Yo, this is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Fowles, this is Nick. you're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist in giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.